Maltese is Difficli Hafna.
Yes, it is.
It's an incredibly difficli Morlan, Trudy. Difficli Hafna. Nidkellen Bilmod.
Huh? I can speak some, but because of my accent, people just take the piss out of me, so I never do.
I found out about his body count. Oh my God. I was like, you need to calm down. He's English. English men are all like this.
I feel like I had quite a few episodes where I was being quite Maltese.
Go on, girl.
And it got me in some trouble.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good?
I love a good
Okay.
advert.
Welcome to the She Word. Conversations that women rarely have, but really should. The world is a much smaller pace than it used to be. In the past 50 years, both short-haul and long-haul travel has become commonplace. And with this, we've seen an increased opportunity to study, visit, and even live abroad. It's estimated that around 420,000 Maltese live abroad who are first, second, and third generations, from around 45,000 Malta-born residents living abroad today. The largest communities of Maltese descent are found in Australia, Canada, and the United States. But the Maltese have made their presence felt in the UK too. For instance, the notorious Soho district in London was established by powerful Maltese businessmen. Likewise, the British have had a significant impact on Malta. Malta's involvement in the British Empire was established when Malta's protective order was transformed into a British crown colony in 1813. However, even after Malta's independence over 60 years ago, Malta retained some of the aspects of this powerful relationship which lasted nearly 2 centuries. Language, road direction, produce, and a warm welcome have meant that the Maltese Islands have been a key travel destination in the Med for Brits for many years. Malta and the UK have an undoubtable, strong bond, but language links can also be deceptive. The Brits are a quirky bunch, and protocol and a stiff upper lip often conflicts with Malta's Mediterranean cultural style, even if we never talk about it. So in this show, we're diving into the differences that divide us and the beautiful magic that brings us together and enriches our lives. We're going to be exploring those little things that make us who we are. But as a long time lived here, British-born, newish Maltese citizen, I've invited 3 ladies to come and join me who cross-cultural statuses are intrinsic to who they are. Chelsea Bagnall Falzon.
Hello.
Beautician who is also the winner of Malta's first Love Island. I like that we're still talking about that. Yeah. Who is affectionately outspoken and bold as brass. And has been on several of our shows, including the Dating and Friendship show.
Yep.
And you, as your name suggests, are both English and Maltese. We'll come to that in a second. Growing up in Royston in the UK, Good old Royston, but choosing Malta as your home today. Mm-hmm. Now, this show is largely because of you, because when you were on the Friendship show, with Denise Kim Garfer, you said something that was an English phrase. Neither of us can remember what it was. No. But the ladies that were with us just went, no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah, and we just had a little giggle to ourselves.
We did indeed. And so I said to myself, we need to sit down and talk about that. So Chelsea, thank you so much for coming back. I'm excited.
For having me.
Maltese English Emily Jones is a regular on the She Word as an interview guest, but of course, part of the show. You've also been on the After Hours show, which was brilliantly funny. You came to the attention in Malta first up because of your OnlyFans success. But beyond that, you've also got this incredible story that we've told as it's expanded. Your mum was Maltese.
Oh, my mum was English.
Your mum was English.
Yeah,
your dad was Maltese. Okay. And you grew up in Malta. You spent a good deal of your adult life in the UK before becoming a global jet setter.
Yeah, I like that.
I know, look at that. But you still regard Malta as home as well.
Oof, concept of home is a complicated thing, but definitely, yeah.
I like that. We're going to unpack that in a second
Yes,
as well.
a lot to unpack, I think.
Katherine Neave! Kate!
Finally.
Hello, also a jet setter and a world traveller based in the UK, but strongly tied to the rock. And we'll unpack that in a second. A social strategist, content creator, and UGC, had to look that up.
Yeah.
You have a massive IG and TikTok following. And we're as likely to see footage of you on private jets or at the races or stately homes as we are to see footage of you in bikinis on our beaches with our blue skies in the islands of Malta.
Yeah.
Kate.
Kate. We'll go with Kate. We'll go
Oh, you
with
see,
Kate
we're on
today.
Kate terms
Yeah,
now.
I like
I'm
you.
so glad that you're here.
Judy, can I just say, I'm your biggest fan.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm going to be a little flirt to Judy right now. I've been watching this show for years. And when I lived here, I needed a show like this as a young little girl living in Malta. So thank you for making
Well,
this
I'm
show.
excited because we've been talking about doing this for a year.
Yeah, I think longer. I've had she-word in my DMs for years. But I actually, guys, I flew in for this podcast.
You did too.
I actually did.
Yeah, we appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
babes.
Absolutely.
At least it's sunny. So I'll get
Well,
a tan
listen,
whilst I'm here.
talk to me about your relationship with Malta. How do you fit into where we're at this table? Because we are, all four of us, dual nationality, which is so cool. But how does that work for you? What is the Malta connection?
So my mum's dad was Maltese. So we would come here like every year as kids. And then I just want to go to university. So I was like, right, I'm just going to get a one-way flight to Malta. So 18, packed my little bags.
Wow, 18.
Also, I thought it was going to be sunny all year round. So I just packed bikinis with me.
Hey,
And
well,
then-
hang on. What do you mean? It is sunny.
Yeah.
Darling, Jan to April, the humidity, it got me. You feel it in your bones, as the Maltese
It's
say.
true.
You do
Yeah.
feel it in your bones. So I just moved here, didn't really like think it through, just booked the flight. And then only when I literally got on the flight, I was like, what am I doing? And then I lived here during COVID. So I don't actually, all of my Maltese family just spoke English growing up because I think they're slimmer people. Oh, why?
Tal-Pepe,
Tal-Pepe,
yeah.
of course. No. So then I grew up and all of my cousins would speak to me in English. And then I worked in real estate and my office was full of Southerners. So all of a sudden I was like, whoa, Maltese people speak Maltese. And I didn't understand anything for like a year and a half that I lived here.
Oh, I'm looking forward to getting
But
into the
I
whole
know all the swear
language
words.
thing in a second.
Yeah.
Thing that we always learn.
The swear words.
Yeah.
So, well,
Very
thank you
good
for
at
being
that.
at the table. I'm really excited. I do feel like I'm not going to have to say very much. Emily, explain a little bit more detail about the Maltese English, because you are both nationalities.
Yeah, I mean, I literally consider myself, and I always say that I'm literally half and half because my dad was Maltese, my mum was English. I was born in the UK, but I moved to Malta when I was 5. And then I did all of my schooling in Malta. I went to junior college here for
Do
sixth
you speak
form.
Maltese?
Iva, mela ma nitkellimx bil-Malti. Now, Maltese people always like to kind of tease me about my accent because I do have a British accent. Like, it's not really, I feel, much I can do about that. But
Exactly.
I do speak Maltese. And when we moved to Malta when I was 5, I didn't speak any Maltese because at the time, the way they did things in the education system in the UK was that they said to people who had, mixed parents or whatever, like lots of kids who went to my school had Greek dads and things like that. They would always say, don't speak, if you come from a bilingual home, don't speak to them in both of the languages because their English will never be as good as a native speaker. Obviously, this was when I was growing up, and let's not say how long ago that was. But I think that the theory behind it the practice has completely changed. So now, we know that when you speak to children in multiple different languages and you bring them up in that way, that it just helps things. And they can develop language skills very well. But at the time, that was the thinking. So I was never brought up speaking Maltese besides a few phrases and things.
So, but after school, just to put this in
Yeah.
context, because
Yeah.
we're going to super dive into this language thing in a
Right.
second, because this
Yes.
is I happened to say on the show recently, I said, use the term bugbear.
Yeah.
And everybody at the table went,
I'm British. I don't know
he
what that
doesn't know
is.
what that is anyway. We'll come to that in a second.
Yeah, what are you on about, Judy? What's a bugbear?
But school.
Yes, so I went to school in Malta, then I went to junior college, which is the government college, and then I went to university here.
Okay.
And then basically after uni, I was kind of like, oh, I want to go and like live in London and have like a city experience. You know, I really fancied myself as like a Bridget Jones or, you know, kind of saw
we
myself.
love a bit of Bridget.
Yeah,
I am Bridget.
I just thought I wanted to have that kind of experience, that like Notting Hill film. But, you know, London in the 90s, kind of, I was working in media. So I thought it would, you know, I really thought, yeah, this is going to be it. So I moved to London, just after university here, basically, I got an internship at the Travel Channel. And and then I lived in the UK basically for about, I guess I was there for about 10, 12 years, something like that.
Okay.
And I kind of probably thought that I would mostly be there, but then when at the time, both of my parents have lived in Malta throughout all of this time period, so I would always come back, you know, for holidays and Christmas, things like that. And then when my mum fell ill and she was here in Malta, I started spending a little bit more time kind of coming back and forth. And then as she became more unwell, I started spending more time in Malta, and then kind of then fell back into living in Malta, basically.
Brilliant.
So,
Where did you live back home then?
I'm from like northwest London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is where my mum was from. And then when I moved back, or moved after uni, I kind of set up around that kind of area, which is what was sort of known to me.
Exactly.
Where we would, like, whereas you said that you would always come to Malta for your holidays, we would always go to London for like 3 weeks in the summer. And I'd go into, you know, it would be like, let's go to Woolworths and let's go to Smith's and Pickwick, all of that kind of thing that I felt that I missed growing up here. So it's interesting. It seems like you guys have had like the reverse
Opposite side,
experience.
Did you feel a culture difference when you moved to London, like moved back?
Hell yes, I did. And it was really confusing because I felt like people assumed that I was British, which I am, but they didn't really understand that I'd grown up in a country that was like completely different. So it was just things like, okay, so for example, I remember I went to a work training do at like one of my very first office jobs in London, and they kept going on and on about how we were going to be doing like a team building exercise and it's going to be just like Dragon's Den, and I didn't know what that was because at the time, like, kind of, I don't know, it wasn't here, we weren't really watching it here, and I'd never heard of it, and they all kept going, oh yeah, it's Dragon's Den. Then when we started the exercise, they were like, and I didn't really understand how to do it, they were like, well, it's like Dragon's Den, and I was like, I don't know what Dragon's Den is. I'm not from here, you know. It was really So I feel that sometimes the identity thing is a little bit confusing.
We're going to dive into that. And before we get there, I'm just going to get Chelsea to put your story into context, because you grew up in Royston, which is Hertfordshire, which is not far from where I used to live.
I know, crazy, isn't it?
We're all connected. But then how come you're back in Malta? What's your connection?
So basically, my mum left when she was like 18 on her own, then obviously had 3 children, and I just always loved it when I came here. Like, come on, it was next to the sea. I used to love Maltese boys. Literally, I used to be like, oh my God, the Mediterranean look. I just loved it. The way that life is here is a bit more, I just feel like it's a bit more chilled than sometimes in England. It's like go, go, go sometimes, you know? So that's what really brought me here. And obviously family. I really wanted to come for my Nannu especially. But unfortunately, she passed away the day before I came to live here.
Stop.
I know. But
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But I came still, and Mum came with me as well. She lived in England for like 40-something years.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So she moved back with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
When I decided to.
wow. We should have her on the show.
Get her in. Miss
Absolutely.
Falzon.
I have to say, yeah.
That
Well,
would be
look,
funny.
I mean, we've got some really interesting dynamics here, and I'm really glad because we've all got relationships with Malta and with the UK. Just to put this in context, I chose Malta. So I came to Malta 20 years ago this month. I got on a yacht. Got on a yacht and sailed up to the Blue Lagoon, dropped anchor for 3 days. And there was only 2 other boats in
But
the
that for 3
Blue
days
Lagoon.
at the Blue Lagoon?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. Fell in love with Malta. Fell out of love with the man in the boat. And I decided to stay. Long story short. But we're now all have these intrinsic relationships with both countries. And the reason that we're sitting down to have this show is not to say that one country is better than another. It's to kind of laugh, kind of find kind of relationships over what we have in common.
I think we're quite lucky to be able to balance them both out, if you know what I mean. Like I have Malta and I have England. I've always said I've got 2 homes.
Yeah.
I say I'm going home and I say I'm going home when I'm going back and forth.
Yeah.
So
It's very relatable.
it's
for
not
me
like
as
I
well.
don't like Malta or I don't like England. There's some things that I don't like about Malta and there's some things I don't like about England, but that's just everywhere, isn't it?
And there's
really?
things that we
is.
love about both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm going to dive just in on one thing to start with, because we've all mentioned already the language. And I just want I just want to explain to anybody that's watching, Maltese is Difficli Hafna.
Yes, it is.
It's an incredibly difficili Difficli Hafna. Nitkellem bil-mod.
Ma titkellem?
And so I want to talk about this because I want to just explain that Maltese is nothing like English, and it's incredibly
so difficult. It's so difficult.
I've learnt Maltese several times, and I was just asking Sasha the other day, in fact, who has the Young Women's Edition. I was saying to her, okay, some words in Maltese, masculine and feminine, are very similar.
Yes.
But let's
And
take
feminine and plural. It does my head in.
absolutely, and we take the word for idiot, for instance, which is ibla for masculine, or bella, or boloch if it's going to be plural. And so I said to my husband, I said, Tanain boloch. And he's like, no, it's not Tanain boloch, Tanain being 2.
Yeah. And you just put the words together.
Oh, it changes.
Like it would
And
be
he
2
said
idiots.
it's zilch.
Zo.
Oh, that's
Zilch.
plural, isn't it?
Zilch bolla. And then, bless our dear Sasha, she said, well, it could be zilch or it could be jish. Bolla. So at which point I'm saying...
so confusing, isn't it?
And I'm saying, I as a 51-year-old lady, I don't stand a hope in hell of remembering all of that.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. I mean, even Iswat soda, black, it doesn't sound the same. And then on top of that, you might ask one Maltese person to say something, and I can remember
Different places,
this is
yep.
genuine story. I saw someone in my street, and I said, I'd just been doing this crazy running on for a morning, doing some trail running. We'd gone along the edge of the cliffs, and I said to my friend, "How do I say crazy runner?" And he said,
Mijnuna.
"Mijnuna Jarey,"
Ray.
which is not at all, absolutely not. And so he thought that was a cool thing to say, and I went around saying Mijnuna Jarey, and people were like, "Don't say that," because it's quite rude. But anyway, so my point being is it's very subjective, isn't it? Maltese is very, very subjective. And that's, I guess I'm going to ask you mentioned, of course, Kate, that the first thing that you learn, and probably the only thing that you learn, is the swear words.
Swear words. Well, no, the issues as well. When I worked in the office, I really tried to learn the language because I could tell they were like talking about me in front of me, which used to really annoy me because like I'd go into meetings and would be in English and then they'd switch to Maltese and I'm like, I'm the only English girl in the room and I know you're doing it because you don't want me to know something. So in a way I was like, right, this is my chance to like learn a bit of Maltese on the side. Like if I'm on a taxi now, I can tell sometimes they're speaking about me and then I'll pick up the phone and I'll be like, oh, Henry, ain't all right. Shinty Tamil, hey. So I speak and then all of a sudden everyone thinks I'm a little tourist and I'm like, hoodwinked, I got you.
Yeah.
But the swear words, I'd ask some of my colleagues, I'd be like, I'm trying to learn Maltese, like, can you teach me a few phrases? Wow.
Never trust them.
Never trust them. They like would teach me, the men in the office would teach me the most horrendous words that I thought was like, I don't know, how are you? Wow.
No.
I got in
Asking for a
trouble.
quickie or something.
Yeah, basically. So I basically, whenever I asked for tips to learn Maltese, I would never trust the men on what they were telling me. But I've learned every awful swear word. And can I just say, it is so therapeutic to say Maltese swear words.
Oh, it hits
English,
different.
it hits different.
different.
I was saying earlier, in a car, swearing Maltese in a car, great.
The thing is, though,
I love it.
I feel like with the English, we swear at the person, but the Maltese swear about the mum, the dad, the grandma. So do you know what I mean?
Dead relatives somewhere.
anywhere.
First, yeah.
Swearing Maltese is an essay.
Yeah.
Absolutely is an essay.
It feels good.
I was saying as well, like my friends would teach me all these swear words and I was like, right, okay. So when someone would be a bit rude to me, I'd like throw it out there. I won't say it because I'll get cancelled, the words. But like we were saying earlier, like swear words in English aren't that offensive. And so I taught my cousin this Maltese swear word, which is very rude. And I was like, yeah, like you should say this. And someone pushed into him at the bus stop and he said, I'm not going to say it, but...
Is it in English?
Just think, it starts with F and O.
Oh, F off.
No, in Maltese. Well, no, it's not F, it's X, isn't it? It'll be... Is it? Oh, I don't even know I'm at.
M's is going,
Hang on. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I taught him this word and I was like, yeah, if someone's rude to you, like throw it out. And like someone pushed into him at the bus stop in the south and he like threw that about. And I was like, Matt.
Did you get murdered?
Be very careful. You might get stabbed. Whereas in England, you can swear at someone.
We're not
you
that
won't
bad
get,
down
You
south.
won't get attacked. But it's so offensive, Maltese swear words.
Anywhere.
Take care and nourish your body with pure, ethical, organic vitamins and supplements. Browns, empowering wellness by prioritizing your health.
Everybody all around, everybody's getting down. Everybody's like, wow, there's a new sound in town. Everybody's like, wow. Everybody all around, everybody's getting down. Everybody's like, wow, there's a new sound in town. Everybody's like, wow. That's just our style.
Ideal Standard, celebrating 90 years of success in the local market, exclusively from Satariano.
It's interesting though because we said this before. There are certain words in English. I mean, we all learnt to swear in Maltese, but there are certain words in English that the "see you next Tuesday," which in English
word.
is
What? You don't say it?
Unless you've really got
Oh, I say it in every sentence, I think.
Go on.
I've never heard you say it.
Oh, I love it. It's
Really?
literally me and my mum say it constantly.
It doesn't bother me. I don't really
love
get
it.
why it's so offensive.
I don't.
I'm like
but
an
I know
old
that-
woman. I'm like the C word.
I have an annual ration of how many times I'm allowed to say it.
Really?
Yeah.
If I
'cause
say
it's so
it, it
offensive.
means like you've done something awful.
Yeah.
No, but I could literally be like, oh, you're such a funny. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
but do you
this.
notice what's funny? We all won't say it at the table right now, but a Maltese person, like a full-on Maltese, they just say it 'cause they don't think
Well, they
it's
put it in a
offensive.
song nearly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So let me ask you: do you speak Maltese, Chelsea?
No, not really. I can speak some, but because of my accent, people just take the piss out of me, so I never do.
No, but that's true. I've noticed
yeah.
when you try, and actually, I remember I was in the office and my Maltese friend, her mum was a bit Pepe. So her mum like spoke English, her dad spoke Maltese, but they're both Maltese. And in the office, she was on the phone to her mum. And all of the other people in the office were like, why are you speaking English to your mum? Like there was a real shame around a Maltese person speaking English.
Yeah, but I feel
That's a
that's
big debate, that
okay, so if we're getting into that topic, I do feel that that's quite different though, because if they're fully Maltese but they're speaking English, then lots of Maltese people will just be like,
quite
oh,
offended by
okay,
that.
you're Tal-Pepe. Now, as somebody who is half and half, and I mean, I speak Maltese. That was very important to my family that I learned Maltese as soon as we moved here. I was like thrown into it and told that I needed to learn it, and I did. But my whole life growing up here, everybody always wanted to tar me with this brush. But you're Tal-Pepe, you're Pepeti, blah, blah, blah. And I would always just be like, well, I'm not Tal-Pepe, I'm just like half English, you know? And I've always found that to be quite kind of, I don't know, I find it a little bit annoying. I suppose just also because, I went to private schools in Malta before I went to college, which was the government college and things. I went to private schools. So when we moved here, we were kind of looking for an English-speaking school because I didn't speak Maltese, and I think it was just going to all be a bit much, you know?
Yeah, and you're quite young still.
Yeah, so I think I kind of grew up in this environment with a lot of, let's say, you know, English-speaking Maltese people, and I think people would always be like, "Oh, what school do you go to?" And you know,
I think they should still speak Maltese. But if they're like, especially if they're fully, you're half and half, like I am.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say about me not speaking Maltese. I was 22 when I moved here.
Yeah, true.
And it's
a
so
difficult
hard.
language.
Like I can understand a lot more than I used to. Obviously, just coming here on holidays, but I do think that someone that's fully Maltese, I get it when like their parents speak English and stuff like that. But I know Maltese that speak English that don't even know really how to speak Maltese.
Well, I
took
quite a few,
and I do think it's not your country. It's like it is your language, so you should be able to.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
But if you do choose to speak English, but you can if you want to speak Maltese, then why? What's the problem if I want to speak English? Some people just prefer to speak English. It's up to them, really.
It's interesting. It's a very hot topic, actually. But I always find it personally to be quite kind of offensive when people say that to me, that I'm Pepeti. I don't like it at all, because I also think that there's this kind of implication that you think you're better than speaking Maltese or something. And it's like,
It's
obviously,
a stereotype.
It's a stereotype. And like obviously my mum was English. We spoke English at home with her, and I was born in the UK and lived in the UK until I was 5. You know, those years are very kind of formative. So it is my native language.
There is another thing to add, and that is that culturally, I mean, I literally wish I spoke better Maltese than I do.
I wish I understood it completely more than speaking.
Absolutely. I would love to be conversational in Maltese, deeply, but it is incredibly difficult.
I don't think I ever will.
And the structure is not the same as English. English is Saxon-based. It's similar to German. And we're talking about Semitic Arabic, 70% Semitic Arabic plus Maltese plus Italian plus
It's even the
That's so true. I can't even make the sound. Like when I moved out, I couldn't even make the sounds with my, like, you
there's
would
that
never use
word,
it.
flour. Tier.
I'm not sure which word. I would just say
Flour.
fiura.
No, flour.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
my God. What's this
Yeah,
new
exactly how I
vocabulary?
say it. Everyone's like,
Yeah. Well, that is a little bit tricky.
But it's like, I always thought growing up, for like years, 18 years, I thought it was Luke Apple. And then when I moved it, but it's because you don't do that.
Yeah.
And I remember my first day, I was like working real estate, and I had to phone up all the owners, and I had to read all the towns' names.
Oh, that's
and I was
quite
like, Master
tricky.
Schlock, Tash Bish. You see that written down?
God, yeah.
Jesus. So I was like going up to like, the people who worked there. I was like,
do I
sorry,
pronounce this?
can you write it phonetically for me?
Yeah.
And it was
But
like,
also, of course, there are letters like the ein and the ucker that have no sound at all. And just insanely, and it is difficult. It's a challenging language, and I wish I'd had the opportunity to learn it before.
I think you've got to be a kid to learn it.
In the UK, we aren't particularly encouraged to learn foreign languages. And we are not that. I deeply envy people who didn't grow up in the UK. And that's cultural.
So privileged.
However, I will add to that there's English and then there's English.
Oh.
And the Maltese have corrected me on my English so much. So much.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
Wow. I never
Because
had that
I
before.
think some Maltese literally learn, I was going to say the Queen's English, but now it's the King's English.
No,
but when I
it's always
moved
gonna
here,
be a
I was
Queen.
writing emails, and I wrote an email going, should of, like
Instead of
OF.
should have.
And my manager was like, what is this? Why are you writing this? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, it should have. But yeah.
I was like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, because you might say should have.
Yeah, should have.
right?
So
yeah,
but there was so many things that Maltese people, I think if you go to some of the like private schools,
But it's
you
like the
learn
proper English they
proper
learn.
English.
I don't know about that. Well, all I know is that when I was growing up here, there were like a few things which were, let's get back to the bugbear word, is that there were a few things that they taught us at school that weren't really correct. So for instance, and this was just always my mum's thing, right? That when we obviously come home from school, my sister and I, and we'd be like, I need to cover all of my books in transparent paper.
Oh, here we go.
Because you know that the consequence of that.
So my mum would be like, what are you saying? It's not transparent, it's transparent, it's transparent. And it was like things like that we would learn in Malta at English-speaking school, and we just obviously, because we were also young, we didn't really realise.
Can I just put this out to my husband? I'm just going to say this because we had this in our marriage vows. It's not drawer. You put your knives and forks in a drawer.
Yeah.
But this is this pronunciation and these interesting things. But there's also the element that got us at this table, which is that there's phrases like bugbear, which you didn't even know, and maybe that's colloquial, maybe that's dialectic
colloquial English, I think.
But for instance, you might say Gordon Bennett, or for the love of Pete, or you might use these phrases which are things in the.
I would say mug. I'd be like, oh, they've mugged you off. Yeah. My Maltese friends would be like, what's a mug?
Yeah, I'm like, what's mugged off? Yeah.
But but just talking about this thing about like kind of speaking, whether you're speaking like perfect Maltese or not, I have to say, like, credit to Malta. I feel like if you are trying to speak Maltese and you don't speak perfectly, I've never kind of really experienced that anybody would sort of be like, oh, you're not speaking very good Maltese.
I have.
Really? Yeah. Because you're Maltese, you've been to school here.
I don't know.
I've not had nice Maltese.
I'll have periods like, for example, at the moment, like I'm away a lot, I'm in Finland a lot. And then when I come back to Malta, sometimes because I haven't been talking or thinking or speaking in Maltese, I'm a bit rusty, right? So it takes me a little while to kind of get back into it, or to like kind of code switch, as they say, right? But then I don't know. But it sounds like you have all had very different experiences.
Maybe it's because of our accent as well, because when you speak Maltese, you have that more of a Maltese twang.
Well, I think lots of Maltese people would beg to differ, but okay.
I don't think you sound that bad. I think if we was to have a Maltese conversation, us three, it would sound absolutely hilarious.
I sound like quite...
You can buy tickets for that, we'll sell it. MCC.
It's quite interesting. I remember my Maltese colleague would always like describe people as savage, and I've never heard that word in England.
Savage?
Savage. As in, like, you don't describe someone as being savage in England, but Maltese.
I would.
Yeah.
You mean as
would you say as a savage person?
You'd say like, he's a savage, that one.
Yeah, but
in
not
Malta,
that was like a
But maybe in the UK
in
you
England,
would say that was a savage move. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
I
So it's
would
a different
never use-
context, maybe,
I don't know,
Like
just
my
the way they say it.
I don't know, like my Maltese friends would be like, oh, like their Maltese is very savage, or they're a bit savage. Whereas like in England, I would never describe someone as savage.
Right.
And it's like apparently how I speak Maltese is very savage.
Really?
I go, shinti tamilao.
Yeah, you are a bit,
I'm savage.
I generally think, and I'm asking these ladies here, because you obviously much better at this than us. I think when I speak Maltese, I get one of three reactions. First of all, I get either, no.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I see you speaking
The second
Maltese.
reaction is, Lele mushtaye bosh.
No.
And then I get corrected. And the third one, which is my favourite, is,
Yeah. Don't understand a word you
and
say.
then
Like you just did then.
I will say, because I used to be on the radio and I used to say street names, so I'd say Tritishat. And
I used to live on that street.
Tez used to say,
Did you live in Tritishat?
No.
you kids. And Tez would say, and I'd say Tritishat. And she'd go, And then someone else might be in the studio and say Tritishat. And she's like, Tritishat.
Like the same.
Like
That's
I just
so
did
funny.
with it.
Yeah.
So I feel, and that's not a criticism. That's just, I think,
That's
a
funny.
cultural difference.
They just hear it
Because-
better, I think.
Maybe it's our accent.
But don't you think, as English speakers, we, or as English people, we would not correct someone on their English. Because
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, but
I
I think
don't know. I'll take the piss out of someone if they said an English word wrong. My mates do it all the time, and I'm like, "What did you do?"
Maybe because you're in Malta.
I would. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that in England to someone. If I was in Malta, like my Maltese fans,
I
weird,
would.
why, like the
Would you?
jaw
I guess
thing,
it
I'd be
depends on
like,
the context again.
And
but-
who I would be with. I wouldn't just
True.
be with someone that I didn't really know and go, no, you didn't say that right.
Yeah.
With my mates, I would.
But I feel that when Maltese people do that, it's because they're trying to help you. They think that they're helping you. They want you to improve.
Yes.
I don't think it's like from a point of like, what the hell are you talking about? They're more like trying to understand, and then like maybe they want to correct you because they think that they're helping.
Or they say the word like, no, I agree.
I think so. Anyway, that's kind of my impression. I feel like Maltese people are really like happy to see anybody making any efforts to kind of really embrace Maltese culture, Maltese language. Maltese people, we're very proud of our country. We're proud of our language. It's a dying language. You know, it's like, it is important, I feel. And I know that a lot of Maltese people agree with that point. Culturally, and I think that they're just trying to include you and trying to get you to improve. I really think that's kind of the vibe that it gives me anyway.
And I love that. And please just be gentle. But coming to that, you just said about a country to be proud of. Well, we should be proud of Malta. I am extremely proud that after 18 years, 19 years, I was able to have dual citizenship. This country is the 11th smallest country in the world, second top climate in the world. It has the top shore diving destination in the world.
Very nice.
Yes.
We are pretty impressive.
And we're on more UNESCO sites than any other country of this. We pinnacle in two great sieges in world history, changing the course of Europe forever, and we should be proud. I think I'm always nervous to say I'm proud. I'm proud because I'm now Maltese, but I think every Maltese should be proud of their country.
I think that what I find is that Malta, the Maltese experience, growing up here, living here, whatever, I feel like it's very unique. I feel like it's very different to like growing up anywhere else or living anywhere else. And I feel like people who haven't experienced it don't really understand what it means to come from such a tiny place, and they can't really imagine what like life is like here. They sort of think it's like Italy or whatever, and yet of course there are similarities, but it's just a very unique place and a very unique experience.
If you know, you know. Yeah.
Well, it's just such a unique place because it's such a mix of cultures and heritage, but then it's also very its own thing as well. So it's kind of one of those things that you sort of feel like people just can't really understand unless they've been here. And what you tend to find is that when you mention to people that you're from Malta or you live in Malta,
Yeah.
I don't know, I tend to feel that people are kind of so interested in it because they're just like, well, what's it like? You know, it's kind of I feel like it's such a special thing. And then I feel that that's kind of something that really brings you together with people. Like, for example, when I lived in London, there was a lot of this, you kind of have this feeling of home when you're with other people who are Maltese, you know, or you kind of like, and I think people, okay, so I'm sure we've all had the experience that you're in London, for example, right? Let's say, I don't know, maybe close to Russell Square or Primark at Tottenham Court Road. No judgment, right? I mean, we've all been there.
I haven't seen them there. I know what you're going to say. I haven't seen them
You're
there.
walking around and then all of a sudden you hear people speaking Maltese. And like, for example, for me, when I lived in London, if I would hear, I would be like, you know, I'd be beaming. I'd be thinking it's my countrymen. Like, it's really...
Always in Primark.
Yeah.
Always in Primark.
I was as well. I was there too, so...
Yes.
I've heard of
Stevenage.
Stevenage in
What, and you heard
Primark,
Malta?
and I was getting changed, and all of a sudden I heard
really?
it, and I opened up the curtain, and I was like, "Are you Maltese?" And they were like,
Yeah.
yes, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
But I mean, but the thing is, right?
I'd
That
get so excited.
But imagine then if French person said that or an Italian person. It's not the same
No.
because
You're
there's
right, yeah.
millions of them all around the world. Like kind of, there's
100%.
huge Italian communities in the US, here, there, and everywhere. You know, it was like, it's not that special. They're like, okay, yeah, he's Italian like me. Of course, there's a shared vein, but you kind of, it's not the same thing. It's just not the same thing.
That's so true.
And people don't
Yeah.
realize, like, for example, my British friends wouldn't realize like how special that was to find somebody who's Maltese
You
or.
know you're going to have mutuals.
Yeah, you know you're
that,
gonna
like,
have
because Malta's so
mutuals.
small. Like
Yeah.
you know, like the same places to go.
Yes.
I think I've been living in London for 4 years, and I think I probably less than like 3 or 4 Maltese people there. And like I was at an event a few weeks ago, and someone had the last name Brincat, and I went up to her right away. And went,
Yeah.
"Are you Maltese?" And she was like, "Oh, like I think my great granddad was." And I was like, but it's like I think once I was in a smoking area in South Kensington. And I met this woman and she had this weird accent and I knew.
Yeah, you
Now I
can
was
just
like,
you
"You're
can pick it up
Maltese, aren't
just
you?"
like that.
But then
yeah.
obviously, because I'm like really blonde and I bleach my hair and I look a bit Scandi or something, they never see it coming with me. And I'm like, start yakking
Actually, I
to
feel
them.
like I would never link any of you with Malta
I
the way
do-
that
I
you
just
look,
look English.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
really
naturalised and
interesting.
honouring
Yeah,
them,
you're
but
right.
I look
you're
like I'm related to
naturalised,
Trudy. We're related.
We're sisters.
Yeah.
Well, but it's interesting you talking about these friendships because we talked about in the car on the way over. We talked about the fact that you were here, Kate. You moved in COVID.
Yeah.
When you couldn't really talk to people. You couldn't. I mean, hats
lonely.
off to you. But I think just right as much as you're saying about when you meet a Maltese, I think there's this very interesting dynamic because when you meet an English as well.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
friendships have those commonalities.
Yeah.
And you and I connected over a phrase that nobody else at the table understood.
Yeah, it is a nice feeling. I was in, I'm going to say Bujaba, but everyone like laughs at me the way I say it.
Why?
I don't know. Everyone at work.
How do you say it? Bajibba?
Bujaba.
I just say
Because British people say bajiba.
I think they
don't
say bugaba.
Bujaba, yeah. Bujaba.
Or Paceville. Or whatever it is.
Hang on a second. Say that one again.
Bujibba.
Is that how you're meant to say it?
Bujibba.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some people in the comments saying that
I
I'm
say
saying it
Bujibba.
wrong.
I say bajibba.
Yeah. You said it right, but one of you just then said it with a slight different...
Bajiba.
Yeah,
All
that's
my
not
English
right.
friends
Yeah,
say bajiba, and I
I
quietly
say bugaba.
Bujib.
Bugaba.
Bugaba or
I mean,
that's
Paceville,
different.
bugaba.
yeah, Paceville. I used to
Paceville.
always call it
They say
Paceville until
slim or
someone
weird.
corrected me.
I lived in, I can't actually say it, I lived in Gzira.
Yeah,
Am I
Zira,
saying that
that's
right?
right.
I would say Xira.
I would
Yeah.
say I think I said
Zira.
Zira the whole time I lived here. And
But
then I
that's
made
okay
a
with it,
video.
but I feel like
they cancelled me. for saying
Xira
it
with a
wrong.
British accent is fine. I don't know. I also find it a bit strange, maybe, although I suppose I do it in Maltese, but I feel like it would be a bit weird mid-sentence to suddenly go, yes, I live in Xira.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to...
Can I have help? Because I can't say, I've said it wrong my whole life. Indina. How do I say it?
Oh, that was
Done it.
all right.
Indina.
That was it.
Stop. I
Indina.
said it right.
Yeah.
I think I used to say like,
Spot on.
Medina.
I think I used to say Medina.
Yeah, that's wrong.
And it's Imdina.
Medina, yeah.
Imdina.
Medina.
Oh, look at the ladies there.
I'm going to
Medina.
Imdina.
Medina.
I'm going to bring this back to Bujiba.
Oh,
Bugaba.
and there was a party there, and all of a sudden I saw these lads walk in, and they had sliders and socks on, and I turned around to my mate, and I was like, they're English. They're English. And she was like, they're English, watch. And we went over there, bunch of English. And I was just like, in a weird way, in my element, because
For sure.
I felt like home also, like how we feel when we see Maltese in London.
Yeah.
It was just such a weird feeling, and especially for me that I don't really speak Maltese. So when I'm around a group of English, I feel like a bit more of
home.
Yeah, and like Chelsea does come out a bit, like.
Well, you mean like a bit more bantery?
Yeah, like I love to joke and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
sometimes I hold back because of these things of like, if I do
Yeah,
something and
yeah.
no one laughs, I'm like, well,
I actually-
hard
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
crowd. Like, oops.
Yeah.
I had a
They
weird
don't get
thing.
it.
When I lived here, I think because I lived here during COVID, so I didn't know any expats when I lived here. I think I met
bless
one
you.
English person. I was a proper little loner, so I just had my Maltese friends. But loved meeting a Pepe because they could actually speak English with me.
Yeah.
I was like, bring the Pepes to me. From Slim or Sweetie, come my way.
Yeah.
But I remember because I was working with Southerners, they couldn't understand what I was saying because I speak quite quick.
From the south.
my southern girl.
Literally.
But because I have, I don't know, an accent or I was speaking really quick, they couldn't understand me. So when I lived in Malta, I like would speak really slowly, would pronounce every word. I wouldn't use any like really British words. So I really like changed my language. And I remember moving back to the UK and I was like, oh my God. My friend, this is so rude. My friend said the word turd. I'm sorry, everyone.
Turd.
Turd.
Okay.
And I was like, I have
Turd.
I'd like to know what context, but okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Turd. Guys, my friend said the word turd, and I haven't heard, like, I didn't hear the word turd.
Yeah.
years.
I haven't heard that for a while, to be
To be fair, it's going round in my head a few times. I haven't had turd in years.
It's been a hot minute for me too, actually, and I live in England. But I remember moving back to England, and I heard, like, there were so many words I forgot because I lived in Malta and I spoke, like, a much like, I don't know, basic English here. It's not that people can't speak English here, but my friends were like Maltese speaking rather than English speaking Maltese. So I was always speak really slow, speak really clear. And like, I remember coming home and I was like, I can speak.
You adapt how you talk with different people. Like,
Definitely
respect
slow
though as well,
down.
isn't it?
Yeah,
that
it is,
you
actually.
understand
Do
each other.
you find that speaking to Maltese here sometimes, like, would you like
If
slow
I get
down,
excited,
pronounce your words better?
Chelsea, it's like down.
They'd look at me and they're like, what are you saying? And
If
I'm
me
like,
and you was to be with a group of Maltese and we would be having a chat,
They
they'd be
wouldn't
like looking at
understand
us
us,
like,
yeah.
yeah, until we speak a bit slowly.
Because also, like, I probably speak, like, was it colloquial English? So, like, I probably don't speak perfect English.
yeah, but I think that's the same. That's the same with all languages, basically. You know, like if you were in another country where they were, I don't know, German, and they were kind of like speaking, and you spoke German, but you weren't German.
It's
they
like
would
Maltese
probably
and
speak-
Goziton.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah.
What
My
different
best friend is from
dialects
Gozo.
and
So I learned some Maltese from Marie and then I'm like, I hear it in Maltese, and I'm like, huh? That's not even, it's like sometimes not even the same words.
You both, you've said something, both, you've all touched on something that was really interesting because we talked about the fact that if you see a Maltese abroad, if you see someone who's Maltese, you're immediately, I am as well, you're immediately drawn to them. It's quick. All of us, we're like,
it's exciting.
wow. But we also have exactly the same
British.
with English.
I go crazy when I saw a British person.
Kind of. I don't know. I'm not sure that I find it that exciting.
Oh.
I did.
Okay. Thanks. See ya. Right.
It was nice.
But I'll tell you what I do. But I guess I like it when somebody, for example, like this is quite unique for me to be sitting here with people who are all like a quarter or a half and a half. I feel like that's quite a unique experience too, because I feel like it's kind of, again, like an experience I feel that you can only really understand if you're from here or have lived here.
Welcome to Maison Perrier. Discover Maison Perrier Chic and enjoy our new non-alcoholic cocktail range. Maison Perrier. Enjoy our new sophisticated mocktails.
Durkos, recommended by dermatologists. Anti-hair loss protocol. A concentration of aminexil in a scalp treatment to reduce hair loss by 29%. And in a stimulating shampoo to boost volume by 48%. A potent synergy for hair 3 times stronger. Anti-hair loss protocol by Durkos, the dermatological scalp and hair expert.
Can I ask you, my husband is Maltese, grew up in the UK for a number of years and found it really hard. He found it that challenge of, and he's Maltese, but he was growing up in the UK. Is there something challenging about being half of one culture and half of another? Bearing in mind that, as we said, Maltese and English cultures are not the same. We have Northern European, we have very, very Southern European. There are elements like timekeeping or volume of talking that are very, very different, and etiquette and protocol and these sorts of things. Was there ever a moment where you sort of like, well, I'm not quite sure where I fit?
Was there a moment? How about 35 years of life?
Yeah.
Listen, when you're half something and half something else, as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, I just feel like it's kind of this mix of like either not feeling you kind of have half the time where you don't feel at home and half the time where you feel at home everywhere. It's a really strange.
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I find like kind of that when I'm in Malta, and I really this is a real like pet peeve of mine, is like when people try to kind of like erase my Malteseness. They're like, oh, well, you're not really Maltese, or
Is
but
that
you're
Maltese
this or that.
people telling you that? Or-
Yeah, I think mostly, yes. And I think like, for example, all of my content really, I speak English. Obviously, like I have a massive international audience. And also as a content creator, you obviously want your content to reach
And
people
you want to
who
feel
aren't
comfortable with how you speak as well.
Yeah, that too.
I find that quite offensive, to be honest with you, when they say things like that. Because I'm very, very proud to be Maltese. Like my Nana, my Nannu, my mum, my Nannu was a big figure here as well. And I'm proud of that. So when someone does say, oh, you don't even speak Maltese, like you're not even Maltese. My blood is Maltese just as much as it is English.
People are very kind of hot on that, and they love to say that, for example, on my TikTok. I mean, it's just like if I make videos about Malta and I feel like I'm kind of, not that Malta needs any promotion, it's doing very well, on its own, but I like to make videos like a bit of a different perspective on living in Malta, Maltese culture, whatever. And I always have Maltese people in the comments kind of negating my experience, or saying to me, like, for example, I don't know, I made a video like making a ftira, right?
Okay.
So I made a ftira and I just literally did like tonta zait, conserva, like a very basic one. I don't eat like onions and things like that. And I just had what I had. I just made like a simple.
You made what you wanted to make.
Yeah, I wanted exactly, hobs zait, like no big deal, whatever. And I did acknowledge that in the video that, I know you're going to come here and tell me where's the olives, where's the onions, where's the capers. But I didn't want it and I don't want to eat it, whatever. So it's comment after comment after comment being like, you don't know what you're talking about. This isn't Maltese. You're a shame on the Maltese. Things like that. And it's just like, can we just like ease up a little bit? Would you say that to me if I had a Maltese accent and I was speaking in Maltese?
I think if you had the accent, no one would question.
No, probably not. But it's like
you look quite Maltese.
Yeah,
so it's just
probably
the accent.
not. So I just find it like really offensive, because then it's kind of like, okay, so I'm half and half. I've lived half my life in one place, half my life in the other. So you're saying I'm not Maltese. So then you also saying that I'm not British, because I'm also as half British. I'm as British as I am Maltese, and as Maltese as I am British. And actually, like, I think this is something that I've felt very kind of sensitive about, honestly, my whole life. And I just feel that now, I'm 35, and now I feel like I'm kind of like coming to terms with the fact that, I am a mixed, I have a mixed culture, a mixed heritage, and that's just how I am, and I'm bits of both, and that's just how it is. And if you don't understand it, then you don't understand it, and that's it. But that aspect I find really offensive. But when I'm in the UK, it's always, but where are you originally from?
Yes.
Right? But I have to say that there is a lot more kind of acceptance of that in the UK, right? So people will often say, for example, I don't know, you'll meet people out and about and you'll be like, where are you from? They'll be like, oh, I'm Greek. And they've like lived in the UK. They're born in the UK, lived in the UK their whole life. They don't speak Greek. They have no connection besides the fact that maybe one of their parents is Greek. But there's a lot more acceptance of people who just be like, oh yeah, they're Greek.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like when you're in Malta, people are just like, if you say you're Maltese, there's certain kind of quantifiers that they want to check. But do you speak Maltese?
Yeah.
But where did you go to school? And I find myself and I remember like growing up here when people would say to me, oh, but you're Pepe, you went to an English speaking school, blah, blah, Maltese, you're not really Maltese, blah, blah, blah. That my mum like trained me, bearing in mind my mum's English, right? But she would say to me that I would have to be like, in Maltese, I would say, Twalitl Ingilterra, Maġejna Malta, meta kelli ħamesni. I had the whole thing, Ommi Ingliża, Missir Malta, I had the whole thing out. So then I felt like I had to kind of explain myself, and then people would be like, yeah, all right. Okay, she can hang, But otherwise, it was like if I didn't give that whole roundabout explanation, they would just be like, oh, she's an English-speaking
But that's because you can speak the language. I think if you couldn't speak the language, they probably wouldn't have that
probably.
response.
It's a it's a real kind of, I feel like the language is a big thing.
The language is...
They respect you if you can speak a bit of the language, because it is difficult for like me a little foreigner there.
But
But
you've
they will
lived here.
respect
You've
you.
lived here from a young age, so
Probably
I would
more Maltese
kind of
than
expect
English,
at a young
yeah.
age that you could at least understand it and speak. You know,
Yeah, you'd think so. And I feel I kind
It's
of
your accent that throws people
did,
off.
but I also made a real effort with it. So my parents made sure, like when we moved here, they made it very clear that was very important. You know, that kind of we're going to be living in Malta, you need to learn Maltese.
going to school here and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
but it was
should.
also like I went to school with a lot of people who were also half and half or whatever, and they kind of like. Well, I feel like there wasn't that much emphasis, but I'm very grateful that my parents made such a fuss about it. And also, a lot of it was also to do with this idea that, you know, if you want to. At the time, I don't know what it's like now, a bit out of the loop, but it was always like if you want to get free education in Malta, you want to go to university, you had to have your Maltese O-level with a certain grade pass.
Oh, okay.
And if you had that, then you can go to university, you can get your stipend and things like that. So that was
The
very
interesting thing
important.
is a lot of people, even today, struggle with that Maltese O-level. It's a difficult language.
Listen, I worked my ass off. I mean, I remember like kind of, I don't know, we had this book called Al-Sala. It was like full of all the Maltese literature. I mean, I spent hours, you know, learning it, trying to immerse in that. And it was a lot of work.
Just going to tell you, I'm still at the Peter and Jane level of Maltese children's books. That's what I have at home, a whole bunch of Peter and Jane children's books. I'm going to just touch on something that you said there, because you guys all have one thing in common. You're Maltese and English nationalities are all part of a Maltese English love story. So somewhere along the line, look at that. Somewhere along the line, somebody in your family, whether it be the generation above or whether it be directly, fell in love. One English person fell in love with a Maltese person fell in love with an English, and that is why you're here at the table.
Yeah.
Slightly different for me. But anyway. But that's your, I know, isn't that gorgeous? You guys are all a Maltese
of you
English
because
love-
you fell in love with a Maltese.
Yeah, you are the generation.
Yeah, you are
You're the Maltese love story.
see?
I'm not dating a Maltese man. You're married to one.
I am married to a
hell yeah,
Maltese.
baby. Go on,
Thanks.
girl.
Thank you.
Cheers.
But that raises a real point, because I'm trying to think of what things must have been like in your home with your grandparents, with your parents, in there are cultural differences. Does that come into dating? Does that come
Yeah.
into the
I'm going straight in.
Go on.
does that come into the love story? Are there differences?
I would say so. My granddad moved to England, which also, can I just say, Maltese people leaving the island is actually quite rare, because I think they're quite, I would say like a lot of my Maltese friends, they like to be close to their parents. Family is a massive thing. Like the thought of leaving.
It's quite
A
bold.
Maltese family is quite bold.
And I feel like at that time it was so bold.
So like, I think if you've got family, like now the Gen Zs, I think are like the Gen Zs. They're now, a lot of them want to leave Malta, because I follow up on all my Maltese news sites and I see the polls. But I think like our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, it was very odd for a Maltese to move abroad. And I'd say the massive cultural difference is the Catholic Church. So my granddad, my Maltese granddad, was very, very Catholic, married 3 times. But his Maltese family did not know he got divorced. There was like a lot of hush-hush, because my Maltese granddad moved to England, married an English woman, divorced, married my grandma, who was Scottish. Then she passed away when my mum was 2, and then he went back to he didn't know what to do. So because also in this is actually quite, I'm going to go off on one, everyone, sorry.
Go for
I
it.
think also in England, it's quite interesting. I'm going on a tangent. My friend's parents, the mum and dad like split the house duties, whereas I've grown up in a household where my mum does everything. My mum, I took her away on a little trip and she left my dad at home. She froze all the food for him for a week. My dad has never cooked for me in my whole life. I've never seen him do the washing. He's like nothing.
And your dad's English?
English, but my mum grew up with she had a Maltese stepmom and a Maltese dad. So she grew up in a household where the woman's in the kitchen. My granddad just, I
have to just interject and just say, I love the way that you mentioned that, and that everybody at the table went,
So now,
because of course this ties into the whole idea of dating or being
Relationship,
married
yeah.
to.
yeah. So it's quite interesting because my mum grew up and she didn't know she had a half sibling because they kept the divorce before her very hush hush. And my granddad's new wife, who is my step grandma, who was Maltese, her family could not know that my granddad was divorced because he was Catholic.
Yeah.
And also my granddad was like a really Catholic man. So I don't know what he preached so much about Catholicism, but the man was a Casanova. But
Catholic Casanova, I love it.
he was. His last words was, "Get me a whiskey and a woman." Fair enough.
Sounds like he had a good time.
Yeah.
He had a great time. But what's really interesting is I moved to Malta when I was 18, and I think I had my transition from childhood to adulthood in Malta because I had to like get a car, get an apartment. Like I had to just become independent here. So although I wasn't raised here, I feel like that transition happened here. And then I moved to London. Now, have you dated in London?
I might have done a bit of dating
Have
in London.
you dated in London?
Oh,
Julie?
yeah. Yeah.
It's the trenches. It's like you think.
No, I haven't for 2
I'll
decades,
talk.
so now I'm...
It's the trenches. Everyone like comes across like Hugh Grant, and then they've got like 20 other women on the side.
Yes.
Now this is interesting. In Malta, you cannot afford to be promiscuous because everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
I'm going on so many tangents here. My best friend, she was with a man and she phoned me up and she's like, "Oh my God, I found out about his body count. My best friend's Maltese and he's English. I found out about his body count. Oh my God, oh my God." I was like, "You need to calm down. He's English. English men are all like this. This is nothing." But in Malta, like you can't have a big body count. You can't get around because everyone knows
your
everyone.
reputation will get ahead of you for sure.
Okay,
Is this
I'm
the
sorry.
thing?
Chelsea,
I'm like,
jump in. Cause
get in here, Chelsea.
I
She's
don't
a
know.
Love Island
Maybe
girl.
I've just met some really, really
Fair enough.
shitty men.
Maltese.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not saying that the English don't have a big body count because trust
They
me, girl,
do.
I know my boy mates back home.
They're bad.
I know all of it, but the Maltese do like to get around.
Do they? Do they go for foreign? Apparently, if you want to get around in Malta, you have to go to Parchville and get with the foreigners because then it won't get back to you.
Well,
Yeah, well,
because people won't.
it's a good tactic.
But
It's
it's
a good
a bit of a...
And also, we all know foreign girls are easier than Maltese girls, as the Maltese men would think, let's say. That's not me saying that. But I remember, like, growing up here, it was always like, "Hey, Huntington, I'll Parchville," and people would actually
Apparently, English girls are
blondie.
easy. I think. Is this a
That's
thing?
what.
Is this
That's
this
what. More, I
thing?
think that's what.
because they
Maltese
say we're
people
happy-go-lucky.
think, yeah.
But then
Oh, I'm
it's
just
quite
happy, but I'm
funny.
not lucky.
I was always brought up
And
with
they're
that
not lucky
idea.
with me either.
I'm a Catholic gal. I find it very interesting because I am quite traditional in my dating. And then I would have, like, I think in Malta, I'm relatively Catholic. Like, I try to be a little bit Catholic. And what I really like about the Catholic Church is you have morals, and it's like you have this principle of family. And you go to England, and I really think there's a lack of that. There's a lack of emphasis on the family unit, on like, I'm sorry, but I'm old school. Like, if I'm going to marry someone, like, I just want us to be monogamous and faithful and all these things. And
Obviously,
I
yeah,
want the
of
man
course.
to be the man, and I want him to be a proper gentleman and everything. And I think it kind of comes from the Malta side of me that I have all of these like more traditional views on dating. And I come to England and I'm like, Jesus. And I go back to my Maltese friends and I'm like, oh my God.
I love the Catholic girl sits there and says, Jesus.
Jesus.
I'm going to jump in with you there, Chelsea, because we've talked about this before. We've talked about your experiences. I mean, for crying out loud, you were on Love
Yeah,
Island.
went on a dating show.
But,
wow.
but you've obviously dated Maltese men
And English.
and English men.
Yeah.
Are there differences?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
on.
there's definitely
Spill
differences.
the tea.
But the thing is, because there is differences, but then there is the same, because like, I don't know, I will be talking to one of my friends back home and I'll be like, oh, talking to this guy and he's such a mummy's boy. And here you find it a lot. Sorry to the Maltese boys, but yeah.
are mummy's
But
boys.
then you can meet like, I don't know, an Essex lad. And he's literally the biggest mummy's boy
Absolutely,
ever.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yes,
I'm
yes.
not saying it's just,
Got the T-shirt.
but
You dated an Essex boy, Trudy?
yeah.
Got the divorce.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're staying away from the Essex boys. No, but I've brought it up before on this show. The thing I find the most between English and the Maltese is the jealousy. Not saying that because I know a lot of possessive English boys. Trust me, I keep contact with my friends that are dating at the minute. This whole Hinge and all that. I don't do that kind of crap anymore. I downloaded Tinder quickly when I went to England. It was horrendous. I was
about
didn't
trenches.
swipe yes to no one. It was horrendous. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. But no, the jealousy. But it's not just men. Even the women can be very jealous here as well.
Yeah, actually, that's a valid point.
I'm not saying it's just men.
Yeah.
Is that because we're a small country?
Maybe. And like you said, because everyone knows each other. But like people do get away with stuff.
Well, I think it's a small country, but it's also like the Mediterranean nature, isn't it? I mean, we're kind of
I'll kill someone if
there
they
is
go
an
for my man.
aspect of being hot-blooded and being kind of a little
Don't take no shit.
passionate. You know, it's a bit of a stereotype, but it's definitely
But it's
true.
hot though. I was saying earlier, like I blame my craziness on the Mediterranean link. But it makes it cute.
We know when we need to take that pause, that break, but we feel guilty for stepping away from our partners, kids, and work. We feel like we need someone's permission to have something that we simply deserve. The She Word has partnered up with Myoka Spas to give you just that, your permission to take time for yourself, the time you wouldn't usually take, but really should. Use code word SHEWORD for 10% off any individual treatment when booking online at myoka.com, or enjoy 10% off any gift box in store with gift vouchers over €100.
Periods are part of the game, but they don't have to throw you off your game. Try new Always Platinum for up to 100% leak protection, faster absorption, dry feel, and it's more cushiony, so you can focus on your game. It's a new period, always.
That's such a valid point.
It's so funny.
because
I got in an argument with Englishman and he was like, you can't bring up being Mediterranean as an excuse for every argument. I was like,
yes, I can.
but
It's in my blood.
It's cute.
It's so true that when I came to Malta, I remember my mum came out to visit, and I was living in Brugge, and we went to Cospicua to go to we went to Cospicua to go to the bakers, and my mum said to me, I said, Mum, go and buy the bread and I'll go to the cash point, blah, blah, blah. And she trotted off and she came back looking white as a sheet. And I said, what happened? She said, they're having a massive row in the square.
Oh, yeah.
And I walked with her and I said, no, Mum, that's just a conversation.
They're just chatting.
Because
That's so
in
funny.
the north, I mean, this is one of the other things I want to touch on, because culturally this would then show through, of course, if you're dating someone in the UK or in the north of Europe. We are very
Polite and apologetic.
well.
Oh, where
Are we? Because I would say yes. So just if anyone's listening, Kate just said passive aggressive. There is a lot of passive aggressive aggression up there, and a lot of undercurrent. And I could say, we had this conversation before we came on the show. I could turn around to my husband, and I'd say, my Maltese husband, and I'd say, I'm a tiny bit upset about what you said. And he's like, oh, okay. What I actually mean is I'm raging. Because we don't
In English.
converse, we don't communicate in the same way. Here in the Mediterranean, it's passion. It's say it how it is. It's speak out. It's say the truth. It's say exactly what's on your mind, which culturally is difficult. No?
I feel like the Mediterranean is coming out like with the hand.
Go on, Julie.
She is coming out with
Absolutely.
I feel like when I moved to London after having like been in Malta like throughout all of my schooling and things, when I then moved to London after uni and I was like working in an office and stuff, I feel like I had quite a few episodes where I was being quite Maltese,
Go on, girl.
and it got me in some trouble. actually.
Do tell.
All right, well, I can think of this one specific incident that like makes me absolutely cringe now. I mean, there are many, but this one specific, just off the top of my head, is that I was like working in this, I was doing training at this call center, and it was like we had a week of training. We were hired preemptively, and then it's like you do the week of training and everything goes well, then you kind of get the job start the job the next week or whatever. And we had, I mean, it was awful. It was absolutely awful job. And we had like not very nice conditions, and we had like a 30-minute lunch break or something in the day, whatever. So it was a very short amount of time. And the building had a lot of these doors where, you know, you had to have a pass to kind of get between one part of the building and the other. So we were training, we didn't have the passes. So for us to get out for our 30-minute lunch break took us about 10 minutes to get back out, 10 minutes to get back in, right? So it was kind of a bit like we were all on a bit of a time crunch. And I remember vividly like kind of knocking on one of these glass doors where there were people sitting right there, and they just kind of like looked at us and didn't open the door for us. And we kind of like knocked a couple of times and like, we're like, can you let us in, whatever. And they were just being a bit awkward about it because they were doing something else. And they were just like, well, you haven't got your pass, not realizing that we were on training. And I got really upset, and I kind of like banged on the door a little hard.
What happened? Go on, Emily.
I mean, it's annoying, isn't it? Is that not annoying? Like kind of that somebody's sitting right there through the door, and I'm like, oh, can you let me out? And they're just going, you know, and didn't. So I was like, and you're thinking you've only got 30 minutes.
It's a bit passive aggressive if you ask me.
Exactly right. So of course, so I took charge, and there were about 5 people with me who were all trying to get through the door, and I kind of went like, what the hell? And I kind of went like that on the door, and oh my God, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. They were just like, oh my goodness, you know, this behaviour is not acceptable. She's extremely aggressive. You know, it was like this whole thing.
Just bang on the door
I didn't think anything. I was like, hey, I'm like, come on, bro. Like, you see me standing here. What's the problem? But even that was just like, oh, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. And it was like, it was this whole thing. I mean, it was a nightmare. I felt so embarrassed. And then obviously, you know, you learn about these things and how to do things and not do things. And it was also, you know, one of my first times in that kind of professional environment. But I just remember it all the time and think to myself, it was so embarrassing. And like, I just remember feeling extremely misunderstood. That's what it was.
That's really interesting.
I felt very misunderstood. I felt like they were like, oh, she's like flying off the handle, can't control herself, has a rage problem. And I really don't. But I was just like, thought I was just expressing myself in a normal way.
Yeah. Maybe I totally understand that.
A bang on the door is the equivalent of an English, can I speak to your manager? So
All right,
it's true. All right, Karen.
Absolutely true.
you know what I mean? Yeah. But do you know what's quite interesting? When I moved to Malta, my like Maltese best friend, if I annoyed her, there was no passive aggression there. She'd be like, you've really pissed me off, Ta. And I'd be like, okay. And to be honest, now I actually love the upfront aggression. I love it. I would much rather know in my friendships, in my relationships, everything, if I've pissed you off there and then. Yeah. Because I just know, in fact, funny enough, I get on quite well with like Northern Irish people because they do not mince their words.
Right.
It annoys me now when I go to England and people are like, oh no, everything's fine. Like it's fine. I'm like, just tell me. Because then if you tell me straight up, like literally, if I've annoyed a Maltese person right now, they'll literally say to my face, you've pissed, you will know. And then I'm like, right, okay, I know that I've annoyed you. I can amend this right now. Whereas like the English way, I would much rather people be aggressive. That's really interesting. But English people avoid conflict. And what's quite funny, I once did a massive, I didn't mind my French, fuck up on an Excel. We were like, I was like working in finance in Malta, and I shifted a sheet down from all the payments. We couldn't figure out who paid each other. And my Maltese manager phoned me and she went ballistic at me. Anyway, because I'm British, keep calm and carry on. I was fine. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go back, we'll sort this, blah, blah. And she was screaming at me on the phone. I was like, it's fine, blah, blah. We're actually now best friends, but how our friendship kind of works, I think if I was Maltese, we would have clashed. But the fact I was like, I can deal with aggression and conflict and be calm. You diffused British in
the
me.
Situation a little bit. Yeah,
it works. And she right now, to my English friends, I describe Maltese people as Gloria from Modern Family. If you've watched, that's my like. This friend is like exactly like that, and she is now married to an English man. And I think maybe why they work so well is she has her little Gloria Mediterranean moment and he's cool and calm. Because if you have two Mediterraneans together, they like...
Well, that's really interesting
off
because
each other.
I'm married to a Maltese.
Who's more crazy? Go on. Is it him or you? Is it the Maltese or English?
Grief, I'm crazy.
Go on, girl.
No, but in a very English way.
Yeah.
But his daughter is dating an English guy,
And she was raised here.
She was raised here, and she keeps saying things to me like, "Oh, he thinks this," and I'm like, "Oh, yes, oh, now you understand me." Because there are things that I feel very seen, because there are things that are very, very English in the way of behaving. Now, interestingly, when you were saying about this sort of passive aggressive versus being outspoken and banging on the door, I think we were probably in the same boat where I honestly, if someone actually comes out and says exactly how they feel, there's parts inside of me that just die because it's very hard for me to cope with that.
No, see, I see it as maybe just my friendship group back in England. We are just
up front.
Yeah.
You're savage.
Yeah, we are savage.
Yes, but there's a
With
difference
each other,
between being honest.
Yeah.
And there's
like she said about her friend
angry.
saying like, "Oh, you
She'll
pissed
just
me
be
off."
straight
My
up
friend
and be,
would literally just be like, "I'll be like, oh, da da da," and they'll be like, "No, that actually quite pisses me off." Actually,
But I like that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's
no, I
also
do.
it's also a bit of a personality thing
exactly.
too.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
maybe like
I
environment.
attract, like my friends back home, especially, are very like to the point. Like,
But
I
you
would
strike
know,
me as that type of person.
Yeah, you're
as well,
upfront.
which
Yeah,
I
you give that
really
energy.
like about you. From
Thank
the
you.
little I know about you, but I'm kind of like I like that.
Thank you.
And I can imagine that. Yeah, you wouldn't really want to be around bullshitters.
No,
basically. So
I don't think I'm. I've always said like, because obviously some comments I did get was not nice. That I was a bit mean, and I don't think I'm
Just
mean. I'm
honest,
just a bit
probably.
brutally
You're quite
honest
straight up.
sometimes.
Yeah,
I would
which is
never
nice.
want to hurt someone's feeling or make them feel like shit, but. At the same time, how I see it is when you sugarcoat something and you're like, "Oh no, you didn't," they're going to keep doing the same thing and they're not going to like learn in life kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you just tell them straight, then they know
Well, I've
from
kind
the
of
get-go.
I've changed my dating. And I was like, when I am with someone, one of my friends, he's an English friend, he said to me, unspoken expectations will cause resentment. So if all of a sudden,
He's very
he was a very wise guy.
Yeah,
and he
that's
said
very-
to
I
me,
like that.
if every time your boyfriend is doing something that annoys you and you don't voice it, like you're creating the resentment by not saying it.
Yeah, and they might not
And
even
my
know.
Maltese friend was giving me relationship advice, and she was like, you need to communicate, voice everything. So now, if I'm in a relationship or I'm dating, I am telling you every moment you pissed me off.
But it's the way you bring it up as well, though. If
I'm
you're
not trying to be a
That's
nag.
true,
I'm
that's
just
true.
literally laying my cards on the table. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, this is how I feel. So then not in a month's time, I'm going to do an English passive aggressive, like flip out of nowhere. I'm just bringing up now to fix it. Because I actually think if you're in a good situation with someone, you can have those I actually think like a bit of conflict's good for you. And I think how
you can't agree with anything, and no one's perfect.
Yeah. And I think just being honest on how you feel and having a bit more of a Maltese approach is like better than to just keep putting it under the carpet.
Yeah,
It's interesting what you're saying about the passive aggressive, because I have to be honest with you, whilst I say, oh, don't be, too upfront with me, else I'll crumble inside. I also, now that I've been away from the UK for 20 years, for 2 decades, if I go back to the UK and any attempt to be passive aggressive with me, I will call it. I'm like, really? Should we have this
See, you're
conversation?
Maltese. You're
So
Maltese,
now I'm
yeah.
Maltese, and I mean, I have to share with you. I want to throw onto the table these kind of things that are Maltese English, because one thing came to mind when you were saying now I'm Maltese. I also am a terrible timekeeper now. When I
Always
left
have
the
been.
UK,
I will never,
I
ever,
was brilliant.
Ever be late, and there will be a reason.
Are you
why
on
I'm late.
time?
I'm early.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yes, that's why yes, and I'm very proud of it. That's why when I messaged you what time to be here, because I know from being
I'm so
previously
late.
of the makeup situation, just waiting around. I thought, I'll just leave it to last minute. Still, I wanted to be here before
You want to be in time.
the time that you told me.
Oh, I love Maltese time.
Oh, I don't.
the best,
I'm a
'cause I'm always
beautician
late.
as well. So, yes.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
kind of, you have to.
I don't
respect
like
people's
that.
Time,
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it drives
No,
me
I
insane.
feel a little bit of a mix of it. I don't think it's such a big deal. It also depends what you're doing. But I think like
I think
5
I think
minutes,
it's
give
so-
or take, tomorrow, what are we going to be
Oh,
put
no,
on the
I'm
airs
an
and
hour.
graces?
I'm
No,
an hour.
I find it really rude.
I
I really do. Like if I was to say let's go out for lunch and
Yeah.
you guys turned up late, I'd be pissed.
But
And you'd
Chelsea,
know
you're
about
the
it.
exact person who would voice it as
Yeah.
well. I'm a like renowned late person. It's not going to change. It's like my
Yeah.
personality type. You would have me on it.
Oh,
You'd
I
be
was.
that
A
friend
guy
who'd
was coming to
cancel
pick me
lunch.
up once, and I texted him saying, "If you're not here in 10 minutes, like I'm turning my
Forget
phone off
it.
and
I'm,
like, piss
but
off."
I'm the worst of both worlds now, right? Because the inner me, that was 30 years in the UK, has to be 5 minutes early.
Oh, really?
The Maltese me
I love being 20 minutes late.
is like 5 minutes late. So I would turn up at something 5 minutes late.
You were early today.
Whilst absolutely killing myself on the inside because I'm 5 minutes
stop.
late. And I can't seem to reconcile the two. I'm like, either be on time, be early, or be late and be okay with it.
Yeah.
But I'm
That's
not.
me.
I'm just both worlds, the
That's
worst
one of my
it.
biggest pet peeves. I think if someone's late.
I just thought of something that kind of really struck me as a cultural difference, like when we first moved to Malta when I was a kid, and I just feel like I have to bring it up. What about staring?
Staring?
Oh my God. Emily got stared at today in the car.
No.
No, is that not that staring?
In Malta, people stare a lot, right? Like
Okay.
it's just like a thing. And I remember, like, kind of when we first moved here when we were kids, that I was like, Mummy, why is everybody staring at us? And then we went, maybe like a couple of years later, we went back to the UK for our annual, summer holiday, back to see my grandparents, whatever. And I will never forget that I guess my sister and I kind of had started sort of getting into that habit of sort of like looking at people, And I'll never forget we were in a shop somewhere and we must have been.
What are you looking at?
Yeah, she went.
No.
Like, what are you staring at?
Yeah.
And we were so shocked and we were just like, oh my goodness. And it was just like one of these moments that you always think about where you think we'd obviously kind of just got used to like,
Staring at people.
Yeah. And I always think it's so funny because in the UK, I feel like that's like one of the rudest things that you can do is to stare at somebody, like kind
Yeah.
of what exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah. That's what you would get straight away.
Yeah.
What are you looking
I
at?
Exactly.
never thought about this
Yeah.
until you said it. And
Yeah.
yet I was on the Gozo ferry. See, here's another problem. I was on the Gozo ferry yesterday and someone was looking at me for longer than, for
A bit
and-
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
in British terms, and more than a nanosecond is
Yes.
uncomfortable.
Yes.
And someone was looking at me, and of course the English part of me is like, okay, right, I'm on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Let's
just
do
stare back.
this.
Yeah. Go
Bring
on
it
then.
on then. Come on then. You want to do this?
What part of England's that? I'm not in that part of England.
Oh God,
I'm
I would probably turn around. Yeah, I would turn around and go take a picture. It lasts longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
This is
I'm
what
not
I'm saying.
part of this
But it's,
England.
but it's
Like,
also like,
sorry.
I feel like in Malta, it kind of just comes from like, I don't know, it's
But I
just
don't
curiosity.
think I think they would just be looking.
yeah,
they're
no,
not
they don't
doing-
mean anything by it. They're not looking in any kind
Maybe
of
they
they're
could
just sort
even
of
be like, oh, I
curious.
really like that top, and just be staring, but they won't
Yeah,
say
yeah.
something. But where
They're just kind
maybe
of
in England,
look.
someone would go, oh, I love your top.
Yeah, then you're like, oh, okay, that's
And
why
then,
that
yeah,
person's
that's why
staring
they're
at me.
staring
Yeah,
at me,
it's
yeah.
really
I was saying to
interesting.
Trudy earlier, I was like walking through a town or something a few months ago, and I'm just like a little blonde girl walking through, and it's only locals, and the glares. So it's like, what are you doing here? And it's like, even I got my hair done at a really local Maltese salon, and I can just tell everyone's Maltese speaking in there, and I'm just like this little foreigner in there. And they're like, where did you come from?
Yeah, you've
it's
got to
like,
kind
I
of-
think if you're in the more like remote local areas,
You've got
you
to
get
like,
more looks.
I think sometimes in that kind of environment, I mean, again, it's a little bit different for me. And it's also like kind of the fact that you're all
it's
beautiful
blatant that I'm
blondies.
not Maltese.
It's kind of so
yeah.
obvious that you don't, one thing is not like the others here. But you've got to be quite, I feel like it's quite an intimidating environment that to go
Definitely,
into.
it's like Neighbourhood Watch.
Yeah, kind
on
of, a little bit.
steroids,
It's a little bit, it can be, I feel like.
I personally love it. I love being, I mean, I have an English accent. I am English. I've got blue eyes and I've got blonde hair. I have to own that. I'm not Maltese by any blood relationship. I'm Maltese by naturalization. So I feel like I can go into my surrounding neighborhood in the farmland and just go, yeah, actually, you know what? I chose to be here.
Yeah.
I chose to be here because I wanted to be here. And that makes me kind of special. But I will say that I also always think, and I probably always will think until the day I die, that I'm still a guest.
That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I still feel like I need to show a certain amount of respect.
But I think I
Do you
agree.
feel
I
like a
agree that you
guest?
do. I agree that you do, and you do. And I think that's why sort of your life here has been very as successful as it has been, because you give that kind of respect. I think that's really important. And I really think that that's what Maltese people are looking for when they're kind of embracing people into, I think they're very happy to embrace people into the culture, into the country, if they give that kind of level of respect. But I think that when people are snobby about things or complain about things, that's where the problems start.
Oh yeah, but it pisses me off when someone says something
it's
like that. If they
annoying.
moan and moan and moan about Malta
It's
and they live here, I'm
annoying.
like, well,
She's
piss
Maltese.
off then.
Yeah, that is annoying, but it is
does.
annoying.
I'm not going to be like, get out of my country. Like, I don't like that kind of thing. But if
it
you're going to keep
is.
moaning about it,
I
moan about both. You can moan about little things, but there's some people that just go on and on.
Yeah,
and piss off.
yes,
then.
that is. And then it's like, well, what are you doing here? Then
Yeah.
it's very annoying. And I always say that, like, my mum always made even though my mum was British and she had a lot of expat friends, and they would always sit around and moan about what they don't like about Malta and what they miss about the UK. And she made a real effort to never bring that into mine and my sister's life. It was always like, Malta's great. Yes, learn Maltese. Malta's this. Malta's lovely. She really tried to kind of make that part of our experience. And I think that I think that a lot of people who are brought up here, who are like half and half or whatever, they hear that a lot at home, and then they kind of like bring that into their own lives as well. And I just think it's just really
I think
not the
also
right way
if
to be.
Maltese people don't fight for Maltese culture, it will be lost. Because even now, some of my friends' kids who are Maltese, like they're just watching YouTube and they're watching all this English TV, this American TV, that if Maltese people don't fight for, like, if people don't learn about Maltese culture, Maltese history, Maltese language, it will die out.
Yeah, it's really important.
But what I also
That's sad.
find, it is sad.
It really is.
But what I do find quite interesting in Trudy's case is that I grew up thinking I knew Malta, and then I moved to Malta and I realised I knew nothing about Malta.
That's interesting.
And I think some of my relatives at home are as Maltese as me, but because I've lived here, feel like I really know the country, understand it, understand the culture. So I think even though you're not by blood Maltese, you've been here for 20 years and you probably know
Well, 20
and understand the culture.
years and 3 months ago, I had never even heard of Malta.
Most people still think it's part of Spain or Italy in England.
I'd never actually heard of it. And I came and lived in Burgoo, lived, just under Fort St. Angelo, did my whole 2 or 3 years of research into the history and Phoenicians, Carthaginians, the Great Siege, blah, 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 all of these sorts of things, because I also wanted to be part of the community. So I did go to the elderly ladies in the village and ask if I could do their shopping and that sort of thing, because I actually don't think there's any point in going to a culture-rich country and sitting with your expat friends because you'll take nothing away. Now, I do, look, the irony is we haven't even sat and talked about the driving differences or humour or any of the other, or the foods that we eat. We haven't touched on so many areas. We've spent quite a lot of time talking about some real fundamentals, but I do want to ask you, as we head towards the end of the show, what do you think is the advantage? What are you most proud of Maltese? What do you think is the thing that you most love about Malta or being Maltese?
Me, I could say that it's definitely like my family side of it, because also like with my Nannu used to be the strongest man in Malta, and he did some incredible things, which he also went to England to do them as well. But like that, like it is a really big thing to me. Like my mum is my favourite person in the world. She's Maltese, fully Maltese, mum and dad. So like things like that, I love how much we are so like, as much as we all argue, don't get me wrong, but we love each other. I am so happy of my family is the biggest thing for me, 100%. I would say certain other things as well. Like we're saying, like, maybe that is the way I'm quite outspoken, is my Maltese side. I like that about myself. But yeah, no, my family are just, they make it everything to be Maltese.
Emily, what do you love about Malta and love about being Maltese?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's quite a loaded question, I feel like, but I think that I just feel so proud to come from somewhere that's just like this tiny country that has its completely unique identity. And I just think that I'm so proud to highlight those differences and highlight that culture to people around the world, and just to show that we're not part of Spain or part of Italy. No, we are our own country. We have our own language, our own culture that's actually very unique. And yeah, that's a big part of why I'm proud to be Maltese.
There was a lot I didn't know about Malta. Like, it was like one of the most bombed places.
Yeah, in
and
World
I
War
just
II,
think,
yeah.
and it's
Or
still
bombs fell in
standing.
April 1942,
Exactly.
then the whole of
There's
the London Blitz.
A
unbelievable,
lot
isn't it?
of like resilience in this little island. It's quite, I don't know, it just makes you send shivers down your spine sometimes when you think about it.
Absolutely.
And that sense of community, I think, as well, that's very important in Maltese culture.
Oldest freestanding temples in the world. Anyway, I
Exactly.
could keep going on because for some reason I know all this stuff, but you're great. Thanks.
They're great facts to spew when you bump into people who don't know where the place is. Yeah.
Kate, what do you love about being Maltese? What do you love about Malta?
For
We haven't
me-
even touched on the sun, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
I get too hot. I think for me, I love coming back here because it's obviously like the family. I miss like the traditions, the morals, because I feel like maybe it's because I live in London, but like I just love the emphasis on the family unit. And also what I find really unique is whenever I come back here, I can phone a few of my Maltese friends and they would do anything for me. I knew if I was in crisis, not my English friends, my Maltese friends would like have me more than anyone. And it's this sense like, if you get on the wrong side of a Maltese, you'll get on the wrong side. But if a Maltese likes you, they will like do anything for you. And I've had friends out here who aren't even family who have like treated me more than like my family have. And I just think in England, you don't get the same thing. It's a real community. And again, I have this thing because I was so close to my granddad, although he'd want me to say Nannu, but my granddad. And I have this thing that if I see an old Maltese man, I melt. Like, and he was like, my granddad was like one of the most amazing men in my life. And he like, honestly, I don't think there'll be many men in my life who will love me more than that. But when I see, sometimes when I'm in where you park your car and you have to pay the little parking man. If they remind me of my granddad, I'll do anything for them.
Watch out, they'll take advantage of that, my love.
I know.
Suddenly the word is spread across Malta.
But
Acts
there's this
extremely
thing that
doddery.
I think if you find a really good, like, older Maltese person, they're like, my granddad was like a little Dumbledore. And I feel like you do get these, like, the older generation in Malta who are so traditional, so like
They've got so many stories to tell and they're very like...
The personality.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I just melt. When I see someone that reminds me of my granddad, I'm like, yeah.
I want to stay with you because we're going to ask the flip side question. What do you love about England and what do you love about being English?
I'm very proud to be English, probably like more than a normal English person. I think so. I moved back to England after living in Malta for about a year and a half. And I suppose I live in London, which is, I think London's completely different to... London is like a different country to the UK. If you have visited London, that's all you know of England, that's not England, in my opinion. But for me, it's like I can wake up in London and I can meet up with all of my friends. I can go for a roast. I could go ice skating. I could go to a park. I could go clubbing. There's so many opportunities. And I found when I lived in Malta, within the first 2 to 3 months, I networked and I met so many amazing, really important people. But then there hit a point where I was like, oh, I hate to big myself up here, but I knew quite a lot of people on the island. And I kind of hit a point where I felt like I don't know, I didn't feel like I could grow as much there career-wise. So I moved back to London and then I began to network in London and it was just like a next level. Because if you network well in London, there's Americans, there's Australians, there's other Europeans, because everyone speaks English. It was just like, I feel like Malta raised me and I worked there and I had business mentors. They taught me like Maltese people is very much just like ring someone up, ask it, just get on with it. So I learned my like Maltese skill set, and then I brought it to London, and it was just like, it just worked really well. But I think London and England, what I love about it is the international reach. And also, I know this sounds weird, but when I was ill in Malta, I lived on my own, and like no one could really look after me. Whereas now if I'm ill in London, I get on the train back to my mum. And it's like so nice. Like even that's such a privilege that I'm like, I can just go back. And like really like I was on my own when I was out here. Like I didn't have really family to look after me because I just had like distant cousins and it was COVID. So for me to like have my parents in England is such a...
It makes a difference.
It makes such a difference. If my parents lived in Malta, it'd probably be a different situation. But like the fact that I can just go back to them and see my dog whenever I want.
Yeah. Ems, I mean, you're half Maltese, half English.
Yes,
Do you have an affinity with the UK? Is there something about England that you're proud of that you particularly love?
I think so, but I would say that kind of my British side and my British experience really is London. Like I'm from London and my mum was a Londoner, and I think that's quite a big part of my British identity. But one thing that I really always think about that I love in London is the diversity. And that's something really that I really resonate with and I love that London embraces that, and that you kind of have this element of almost like what we were talking about earlier, that you can kind of be whoever you want to be and that nobody's going to kind of tell you that you're not that. You know, everybody's kind of making it in their own way, and you can kind of have your own mix and do your own thing, and nobody's going to tell you that you're not one or the other of those things. So yeah, I would say that that's definitely a big part of what I like about the UK.
Okay, I'm going to go on something you said earlier, and I'm not saying by all means I have very, very, very good friends here, but I have my friends back home that I've known, since I was like 3 years old. I have two best friends that are like literally my sisters. I adore them. So for me, I would say also the side of my family and friends. Because like that's the thing of me saying about going home and going home.
Yeah.
Like I've just got back last week and I struggled coming back this time. I have like my life completely changed when I moved to Malta, and it has got nothing to do with Love Island for now. Obviously Love Island was a big part of it. But when I moved here, I felt like I grew up. Like I was 22. I was just like, used to go out every weekend and not really cared about life. But then when I moved here, it was like, right, I actually need to sort my life out now. So I feel like if I didn't leave England, I wouldn't have been the person that I am now. So that's like the thingy out of it. But I would definitely say as well, my friends and Tesco's. I miss Tesco's, man.
Can we
bring Tesco's?
Listen, we'd all be very happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to stick with you because I'm going to ask you kind of a closing question. Because so many people are on the move, so many people, whether it's just through Erasmus or whether it's studying or whether it's living in a different country or whether it's meeting someone from another country and dating someone from another country and then finding that you've got to move. For whatever reason, we are so much more international than we were even 20, 30 years ago. When I came to Malta 20 years ago, I think there was 12,500 foreigners, and that's not where we are now. So my question to you would be, you've upsticked, you've moved country, you've lived in another country. What would be your advice to anybody? We're not just talking about young people, but anybody who chooses to move country, to experience another culture. What would be your advice?
Do it. Just do it. I thought about it for so long, and I always used to think, but what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that? Just do it. There's always home. You can go back home if things don't work out. Look at you, like you're saying that you did, like grow
but
up
also
here.
I learned from me going to Malta. I think it made me.
Exactly.
So if I stayed in England, just moved to London, I don't think I would have had the skill set. And also because I did the move on my own to Malta with like no plan, didn't really know anyone. Moving to London was like a piece of cake. I was like, well, I moved to Malta on my own, so of course I can move to London. So I don't think I actually could have moved to London if it wasn't that I moved to Malta. because
the
it gives
way.
you the confidence.
Exactly.
To do
You
it.
just got to do it. Yeah.
Is that the same advice from
100%.
you? Is that your piece of advice?
That I didn't think, I'm one of these people, I don't think things through, I just do it. So I would say, don't think things through, just do it. Just book the flight, you'll figure it out when you're there. I'd also say, because I moved during COVID and I was quite lonely, I just made sure that I was like going out, even if I didn't want to. I was like, there was one Friday I went out and I was so tired, I wasn't going to go out, but I went out and we went for drinks. And that evening I met like some of my best friends.
Yeah.
So I think if you're new to a country, even if you don't want to go out, you've got to push yourself. Even if it's like, I even say this now living in London, even if you're going to work from home, go work from a coffee shop and like take your headphones out, try and I speak to everyone. I'm such a grandma, like I'll talk to everyone. But again, I think that's because I lived in Malta and I was that person who didn't know anyone when I moved here. So I always will speak to people, but I think just try and push yourself out of your comfort zone. And yeah, just like explore. Like every weekend, I would just like get in my car and I'd go do like little Maltese. I'd go to Popeye Island on my own.
Oh,
I went to India by myself. And I would do these little date nights myself and I'd like go and take myself out. But yeah, I think
you could meet someone anyway and you could say,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just exploring around. I've just moved here. And then,
even if you are like, I actually am a bit of a secret introvert. That sounds
Oh, no, I'm
such a
I
nice
am.
person. But like, I do love a night in. But I think if you're new to a country to begin with, like you do need to push yourself because
Yeah.
you just don't
That
know
is-
the ripple effect.
Brilliant
Yeah.
advice.
yeah.
Ems, you've lived in
Yeah.
multiple countries. What is
Yes.
your advice?
Get out there, meet people, interact, be a little bit vulnerable, tell people your story, connect with them. There's probably some connecting vein with everybody that you meet. You can find some kind of common ground. So do it and get out of Sliema, St. Julian's and Zira and see the real Malta, see the real Malta, mingle with Maltese people and
Cheers
best of
to
both
that.
worlds.
Cheers.
I'm dry.
Pinky,
Cheers.
pinky,
I'm nearly dry.
pinky,
Oh, pinky.
pinky.
Finally.
Oh, yes. Boom.